Hi, I'm Paula Nylander. I'm a volunteer at I'm in Ministry, and I'm here today with my friend Deacon Primozic, who's the founder and CEO of I'm in Ministry. Hi, dude.
Thank you.
Hi, dude.
I appreciate you interviewing me today. Thank you.
Welcome. So my husband and I, as you know, are volunteers down at I'm in Ministry, and we've been volunteering in the furniture restoration area for a few years now, and we both really enjoy the time that we are down refinishing furniture, knowing that it's going to be placed somewhere in Northeast Ohio.
That's right. Well, and we appreciate your time, talent, and treasures. And, I'm in Ministry is indebted to the volunteers. And at I'm in Ministry, we connect people who donate and people receive, as you well know. And it's really the volunteers and the staff that are the infrastructure that holds this bridge up between these two worlds of donors and those who receive. And so we really appreciate all of the hard work of our donors. And I think they have fun too, every once in a while, but we really appreciate all the dedication, and they help make a difference. They truly make the impossible possible.
Well, I would agree with that, Lou. And you're right. We do have a lot of fun back there. There's a lot of laughs, and there's some tears too, because I think we share a lot of compassion with our coworkers when they're going through something. But as I walk into I'm in Ministry every Tuesday morning, and I'm walking in, I'm looking at the furniture that's come in to see what we might be repairing, and I see beds and bedding and household items that have come in and clothing that needs to be sorted. I also see some interesting things, some one-off things as I like to think of them. And two that really came to mind were electric wheelchairs. So I know that one was placed several years ago, but lo and behold, last week, there was one that came in that was pretty tricked out. So why don't you share with us a little about the wheelchairs?
We have a lot of one-off things that do come in. The wheelchair is one of those stories that's true. It's a true street story that I will always remember. We had a family that early, years ago, 10 plus years ago, in the early days that I'm in Ministry, there was a family who donated. And next thing you know, their children, their neighbors, their relatives, and probably 50 people connected to this family have donated. Well, they called me one day, and Uncle John was his name. He was a veteran, and he had a wheelchair, and he had passed away. It was purchased by, I think, the VA. And they said, we don't know what to do with this. So I said, we'll find a home for it. What we ended up doing was we ended up picking up this wheelchair, and it was tricked out, as you said. And it's super heavy. And what we ended up doing was placing it with a fellow on the west side of Cleveland. And unfortunately for this individual, he had a terrible disease and cancer in the spine, and he was homebound, could never get out of the house. And he was literally homebound for a long period of time. And what we ended up doing is bringing the wheelchair to him. And the next day, I get a video from his wife. And here he is, driving the wheelchair down the street in his neighborhood with a smile from ear to ear. And Tony was the happiest person at that moment that I knew, and he was just so delighted that he was able to get out of the house after a long period of time of being, confined. Well, time went by, Tony passed away, and I had his memorial service, his funeral service. And afterwards, and there were about 200 people there. Afterwards, many, many people came up to me and said, you need to understand that wheelchair made a difference in the life of Tony, particularly at the end of life where he was able to get out. And it changed everything in a very, very significant way for him, but also for his wife. And after Tony passed away, his wife repurposed that wheelchair. And it's been repurposed now several times. But it all started with a donor whose uncle passed away, and that wheelchair was donated to us. And so those are, we call special moments, but truly holy moments. And it's the volunteers that help make all of that work, to make us allow us to help people who want to donate, who make a difference, and the people who will receive. We're greatly appreciative. So we have this bridge, and volunteers really support the bridge.
So the bridge, tell me about the latest wheelchair.
The latest wheelchair went out last week, and so a woman who donated, her husband recently passed away, and she pleaded with us to get the wheelchair out of the house because it kept reminding her of her husband. And that wheelchair was placed last week at the Westside Catholic Center with a gentleman who was homeless but couldn't get around. And so it was placed last week, and he now has the ability to go to Westside Catholic Center for his meals, could charge his wheelchair up at Westside Catholic Center, and everything that they have told me recently, he's happy. It's a game changer. He's very, very appreciative. And, oftentimes we see this over and over again. These are truly holy moments. When somebody has no one to look out for them or has some terrible situation in life, it's the little things. So it's when you and your husband, Mark, refinish a piece of furniture and it looks beautiful, brand new. It may be the best piece of furniture a person ever received. It's a functional piece, but it also suggests they're important and they really, really appreciate it.
So Lou, I hear these things. I feel that we're contributing in our own little way, but how can others participate? How can they volunteer?
I think by going to our website or calling us, they can volunteer at I'm in Ministry. We have many, many opportunities at our center, but also we have a lot of volunteers who do very, very important work that never come into the center. They're out in the community, giving talks and really promoting I'm in Ministry and the services they do. So I would encourage people to go to our website. But there's something else to your question that's important for me to respond to. If it's not I'm in Ministry, volunteer somewhere. Life's about purpose. And I think that volunteering and making yourself available, helping others is purposeful. And that's what we're called to do. So if it's not an I'm in Ministry, it could be at your church, it could be at other organizations. But I really strongly encourage people to volunteer. It's purposeful. And you'll never know the true benefits you bring to others.
I think that what I'm in Ministry is doing is a blessing to everyone. But I agree. I think getting out and volunteering is something that you feel inside, regardless of what you're doing or who you're helping. And I think it's really great that we're part of your ministry and being able to get out there and help people.
Well, I look at it as our ministry. It's not my ministry. And one of the things I want to share with you is this. I've learned from people of all different ages, particularly elderly people who have great wisdom. Life boils down to faith, family, friends, and purpose.
Amen to that.
Thank you.